Hi, everybody. I'm Shelly, and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another Question the Narrative video, and today's topic is the Millennial Kingdom versus the New Earth. No, I'm not pitting them against each other, but I wanted to clear up some confusion that seems to be happening regarding these two very different points in time. So there has been much interest recently in the Millennial Kingdom with the discovery of Tartaria. I know this is just a World's Fair picture, but this is what people think of when they think of Tartaria. So there's this fascination with the empire of Tartaria, and we just look at this beautiful architecture that doesn't seem to fit anywhere in our timeline in a way that makes sense. And so some pieces have been put together, and it has been speculated that this Tartarian architecture comes from the millennial reign and that we are now living in the short season, which is mentioned in Revelation 20. Now, I will be the first to tell you that when I first came upon that hypothesis, I was blown away, and I just fell in love with the idea that these Tartarian buildings happened in a time when Christ had ruled on earth, and right here was physical evidence of it all. And needless to say, I got some pushback on my videos about this because it is a very controversial topic. And, regardless of what anyone thinks that they 100% know what the truth is, it is my firm belief that we don't 100% know if whether or not it already happened or not. But what I will tell you is that some of the comments that I got helped me to want to go into a deep dive of Revelation and what it actually says about the 1,000 years or the millennial kingdom. And the reason for that is because some of the people who left comments were asking me questions, such as how could the millennial kingdom have already happened if New Jerusalem has not come here yet? Or some other comments have asked me, how is it that the millennial kingdom could have already happened because it said that there will be no more death and no more tears during that time? And, it really had me scratching my head. And so, yes, recently I have been doing this a pretty thorough study on Revelation. I've been taking my time with it because I think it's that important. And I have found that my views have really shifted on it. And I'm noticing that there is actually a lot of confusion between the millennial kingdom and the new earth. So I wanted to point that out today. So let's just read through Revelation 20. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding in his hand the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain. And he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. That's where the millennial kingdom comes in. And threw him into the pit and shut it and sealed it over him, so that he might not deceive the nations any longer until the 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be released for a little while. Then I saw thrones, and seated on them were those to whom the authority to judge was committed. Also I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for the testimony of Jesus and for the word of God, and those who had not worshipped the beast or its image, and had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is the one who shares in the first resurrection. Over such the second death has no power, but they will be priests of God and of Christ, and they will reign with him for 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations that are at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. Their number is like the sand of the sea. And they marched up over the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city. But fire came down from heaven and consumed them. And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who was seated on it. From his presence, earth and sky fled away, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. Then another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged by what was written in the books, according to what they had done. And the sea gave up the dead who were in it. Death and Hades gave up the dead who were in them, and they were judged, each one of them, according to what they had done. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. So, just a brief synopsis of what we found. We found that Satan is bound for 1,000 years so that he cannot deceive the nations any longer. Then we see that those who had been beheaded for the testimony of Jesus, so the martyrs, come to life and they reign with Christ for 1,000 years. The 1,000 years are ended, so the millennial kingdom is, I don't want to say finished, but the end of the 1,000 years comes. Satan is released from his prison and he is allowed to deceive the nations once more. And this is where the idea of the little season comes in. And that little season terminology, it specifically comes from the second half of verse 3, where it says, after that, he must be released for a little while. Sometimes it says a little season, sometimes it says a short season, a little while, but that is where the whole idea of the short season comes in. So after the short season begins, then he deceives the nations that are at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog. I just wanted to interject here that while we're on the subject of Gog and Magog, I actually took this screenshot. It was actually a photo that I took when I was watching a video from Now You See TV. And I'll link to their channel in the description. But this is really, really interesting, especially when you come upon the idea that Tartaria could have possibly been the Millennial Kingdom. Because what it says here is Gog and Magog. Gog may signify the governor, and Magog, when joined with it, may denote the people. Magog was the second son of Japheth and gave name to his seed. His posterity seemed to have peopled Tartary. Okay, so we will just go down here. Tartars called themselves Mowgli or Mugogli or Mungli or Mungugli, the children of Magog. A Tartar empire in the East Indies is called the Mughal Empire, and the country Mogolistan, or the country of the Moguls. A tribe of Eastern Tartars are still called Mongols or Mongols. Many names of places in ancient Tartary retain vestiges of Gog and Magog. So while this is not 100% conclusive, I believe that this is certainly supportive of the fact that Tartaria, the actual empire of Tartaria, in my opinion, had nothing to do with the Millennial Kingdom. And I will tell you that something wasn't sitting right with me all of that time. But I honestly wanted it to be true because it was such a cool story, such a beautiful story, and I didn't want to think that it could possibly be wrong. But I'm being presented with more and more evidence that Tartaria had nothing to do with the Millennial Kingdom. In fact, I mentioned in another video that I read in the Genesis 6 conspiracy that many of the Nephilim seem to have originated from a place called Tartaria. So then, after Satan is defeated at Gog and Magog, then they are thrown into the lake of fire. The devil, the beast, and the false prophet were there. And then the judgment comes. Okay, so that's a basic synopsis of Revelation chapter 20. And this is the part of the millennial kingdom, and then it talks about a little bit about the short season. Now, if you go into Revelation 21, this is after the millennial kingdom, and after that is the short season. After that is the judgment. Now comes the new heaven and the new earth. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So do you see what I'm getting at? The New Jerusalem does not come down during the millennial kingdom. It comes down when the new earth is formed, when the new earth is here. That is when New Jerusalem comes. So the idea that the 1,000 years could not have possibly happened yet because New Jerusalem isn't here, that doesn't fit with what Scripture tells us, because New Jerusalem was not here during the 1,000 years. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away." So here, what we have, what they're saying here, what John is saying here, is that in New Jerusalem, on the new earth, is when God himself will be with them as their God. Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. And I will say that I do not see any indication in what it does say about the 1,000 years. I do not see anything in here that says that he will specifically be reigning on earth. In my opinion, he could have been reigning on earth, or he could reign on earth, but it could also be from heaven. It does not specifically say that. And I think that sometimes people are getting it confused with the new earth and the new Jerusalem, when it says that God will be here and this will be his dwelling place. And then again, more confusion, because what people are associating with the millennial kingdom is actually being said about the new earth. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. So this spectacular sight of New Jerusalem coming down is going to happen on the new earth. And that is after the final judgment. That is after the battle of Gog and Magog. That is after the little season, and that is after the millennial kingdom. It is not during the millennial kingdom. And it's not even just your typical lay people, so to speak, who are getting it confused. It's also being confused in publishing. This is from a Christian publisher, the millennial reign of Christ. And what you will find for the images, it shows a time of peace and no tears, and not specifically this one, but what you will find is that they do associate it with what we're told in Revelation 20 about the New Jerusalem, that there will be no more tears and that there will be no more death. And it's just, I'm finding that even Christian websites are conflating the two, and they are not the same time periods. They are not the same instances at all. And in fact, many of the websites will allude to prophecies in the Old Testament. And if you read the prophecies, they are very ambiguous and seem to be pointing more to the New Jerusalem. I don't see any indication that the prophecies that are used in the Old Testament as supporting the millennial kingdom, I believe they're all speaking about the new earth. So that's my synopsis of the two for now. And I'm sure that I'm going to get people on both sides angry, because on the one hand, I firmly believe from reading Revelation 20 that there is no indication from that it is definitely going to happen on the earth. I believe that Jesus Christ could very well be ruling from heaven. And then on the other hand, many of the verses that are being attributed to the millennial kingdom to account for a time of beauty and prosperity and peace, there's no indication that that is the millennial kingdom, but that that is in fact New Jerusalem, which is a completely separate time. So I'm hoping that this helped to clear up some of that confusion. And if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.